On the other side of our studio, Olivia Salazar-Winspear waits with Media Watch. Good evening to you. Looking at things happening in London, the issue is Brexit, of course, and it is a fast-developing story on many levels. Over to you.
Well, in fact, everyone in the media is just scrambling to keep up. Things are changing so fast, the situation is so volatile that journalists are really struggling to react to it. And another reason that things were difficult for especially people in the broadcast sector this afternoon is that while Boris Johnson was giving his speech outside 10 Downing Street, the Twitter feed from 10 Downing Street shows you journalists could hardly hear him over cries of "Stop the coup," which is really a first. It's really not very British behaviour.
This is from demonstrators at the end of Downing Street, where there's a big fence, of course, stopping people getting in.
Exactly, and they were shouting so loud that could even be heard on the broadcasts there. Moving to social media, Twitter, the top trending hashtag in the UK this evening is general election, followed by Downing Street, quite logical, and the third is cross the floor. Now, this is a movement that's got a lot of support so far, tens of thousands of retweets, urging the 22 rebel Tory MPs to defy their Prime Minister and not vote along party lines tomorrow when it comes to this question of the no-deal Brexit. And this would arguably destroy the Conservative Party and leave Boris Johnson in a really tricky position. Now, prior to everything that was going on at the end of the afternoon, this exceptional meeting, there were some parts of the media who thought there was another top story today, and that was the arrival of a puppy at 10 Downing Street. This is Boris Johnson's new pet. The BBC Politics feed was reporting on it and invited people to make suggestions for its name. Now, Mark, you and I know that Britain is a pet-loving nation, but this didn't go down very well. People saying, what are you doing, asking us this question in such an important week? Have you lost it completely? This man here saying, a dog is for life, not just for publicity stunts.
Well said.
Which is, echoing that famous campaign to stop animal cruelty, saying a dog's for life, not just for Christmas. Left-wing media figures saying this isn't news, it's Downing Street public relations. Stop it. But of course, there's always an opportunity to poke fun at politicians in moments like these. And we've got a photo here of Matt Hancock, Boris Johnson's puppy, arrives at Downing Street, and I will point out they're teasing him because he made a U-turn on the issue of Parliament being suspended. When campaigning for leadership of the Tory party, Matt Hancock initially said he was totally against the idea of proroguing Parliament. Now he says he hasn't come out to criticise that move because he, quote, doesn't feel like it's really going to happen. And I think perhaps he echoes a lot of people within Westminster and outside of it who don't really feel or know about anything anymore. So we'll be back with more tomorrow, definitely, from London.
Indeed, indeed. If they don't know that, maybe they should sort of send back their salaries. That'd be a nice move for them, wouldn't it? Now, let's move on to Hong Kong. It's back to school day there, but of course lots of students not going back in protest and the ongoing protests against Chinese interference there.
Yes, and thousands of university and secondary school students attended pro-democracy rallies in central Hong Kong on Monday. You can see the scale of it from that photograph today there. Now, the cause is being taken up by students at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and the media and the journalism and communications schools tweeted this video where you can hear people and see people shouting, "Free Hong Kong, revolution now." Someone else who was very vocal today was Joshua Wong of the 2014 Umbrella protest movement. Now, he tweeted this image of a statue wearing a gas mask and goggles, a statue which looks very ready for protest. That's actually Sun Yat-sen. He's the first president of the Republic of China. And Joshua Wong compared the activism of the last 3 months to the 1911 Chinese Revolution, which overthrew the final dynasty and created the Republic. Now, speaking of the Umbrella movement, umbrellas for a different reason here. This tweet shows the determination of some of those high school students who are outside their building in the pouring rain holding up placards. Now, organisers estimate around 9,000 secondary school students from about 200 institutions participated in the boycott today. And it's interesting that this is happening in the education sector because in 2012, tens of thousands of young people protested against a proposed curriculum change on an issue called patriotic education. Now, they saw that as an attempt to brainwash people in Hong Kong. They carried out a hunger strike, camped out in front of the government headquarters in Hong Kong, and officials were finally persuaded to scrap that initiative. But it's not just students, not just education. Here we've got a video, a time-lapse video of nurses on strike in a major hospital in Hong Kong. Now, these are medical personnel taking part in industrial action with placards supporting the pro-democracy movement. Some people in the media are saying that this is a direct response to the violence of this week's protests, but others are also flagging up an editorial published on the Chinese state media website, Xinhua Net, which is saying that the violence must end, and it calls them rioters. The rioters and their behind-the-scenes supporters crying for freedom and democracy are turning a blind eye to people's freedom by violently obstructing them from going to school and work. Now, they certainly pushed for people not to go to school today, and this sort of communication from Beijing doesn't seem to have deterred them, because they are planning to do the same thing again tomorrow.
Indeed, and it is angled in a certain way too, isn't it, as most things coming out of Beijing tend to be. Olivia, thank you very much indeed. Olivia there with Media Watch.